Welcome to the Iconic Podcast, an extension of the Iconic magazine. I am your host, Jen Spiegel, the CEO and editor-in-chief. These weekly interviews with industry moguls will provide you with the inspiration, insights, and lessons for how to grow an iconic life and business for yourself. Be sure to check out the latest digital or printed copy of the magazine to view more actionable steps, expert advice, and personal stories to support you to spark and grow and scale your business as an entrepreneur. I am so glad you're here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. And I just want to give Mandy and team another round of applause for creating this. Look how beautiful it is. She set up the keynote perfectly because it's around personal branding and my favorite subject. And I'm going to ask you to do something just to help land the plane for me today. And if you're not following Becoming Iconic, which is my brand, I'd love you to do that. Simply because I feel like when I speak this to you and when you see it, those two things combined will help this really come to a full fruition and full circle for you this morning. So would you say you have a personal brand? Does everybody in this room identify with that? Yes? I hope so. So what I want to do is teach you something today that I'm sort of built this reputation around. And I want to teach it in a signature way that's never been done before. And the purpose of that is so that you can leave this room today with such purpose and mission around your personal brand and permission. Not that you needed permission, but sometimes we just need that nudge. I'd love to push you on the skinny branch today. So I'm going to teach you the way in which I have built my brands. I have two companies, Becoming Iconic, and then I'm also the editor-in-chief of the magazine, Iconic Magazine, which is an international magazine, and I'm a mom of four. So I'm juggling a lot of things, and what makes me turned on in life is showing up every day within my brands. It is an expression of me. So to build the context, then I'm going to go into the teaching, and I will do some Q&A today as well. So I thought it would be nice for some of you to be able to ask some questions and leave with that nugget that you can implement immediately. So I think it's important to know what a personal brand is not. It's not a trend. I'm confused a little bit, if I'm honest, around the online space and how we sort of use personal branding as a trendy thing when it's actually legacy and it's been around for centuries. This is not a new thing. And what it also isn't is chasing trends. I wish it were as simple as the trending audio that day. We'd all be millionaires. And I wish it were as simple as following a trend because we would all be millionaires. What actually a personal brand demands is that you become a trendsetter. I grew up always wanting to be a little different. I didn't really love fitting into boxes. And so when I would see something, I had a little rebellion in me that wanted to do it a little differently. I would appreciate and be inspired by what I saw, but I always wanted to make it my own. And so that to me is what a personal brand is you decide to be a trendsetter. And that's more natural for some of us than it is for others, but it is what you signed up for. You signed up to build a personal brand, and so sometimes we have to do those stretchy things and also get comfortable in those stretchy things in order to really thrive. What it also isn't is a crutch. So going to ChatGPT and asking ChatGPT to develop your captions for the week is not how you develop a personal brand. As a matter of fact, if I could be so bold, and some of you may not like it, I actually find that incredibly lazy. If you cannot use your voice and declare who you are and what you offer to the world, that's your very first thing to start working on. If you can't say who you are and why what you do is important, then I think that's where we start. But it's not ChatGPT's job to do that for you. So I think we have to be careful about those things we're leaning on. They're great tools. I use them. I'm not coming down on GPTs. But what I am saying is that we can't use those as crutches to develop our voice and develop our brand for us. It is our responsibility. Also, a personal brand is not a fake it till you make it. And this is unfortunate in the online space because we can fake it and oftentimes get away with it for a meantime, not for a long time. You see a lot of those brands that have popped up since COVID where they came in for the wrong reasons. They had dollar signs in their eyeballs. And so they started a brand in order to create money. And because they were driven by money, there wasn't a lot of meat behind what they were offering. Did anybody experience that? Yeah. And so it could have potentially maybe made you feel like you have to embellish or exaggerate or pretend or be in a performative persona in order to be successful. And I would say it's the very opposite. The more you're yourself, the more successful you will be. And it's also not mimicking. So as someone who's seasoned, I'm in my 20th year now as an entrepreneur, I see things and I can see things pretty quickly. Oftentimes I can gauge who someone's mentor is by what I see through their brand. And I get it. I understand it. We have an appreciation for our mentors. We look at these people online who are successful. They're our North Star. But what happens is we try to become like them, thinking that if we're more like them, that's where the success lies. And again, kind of going back to what I said, it's taking the source of inspiration from them. They can be your muse, but then being able to turn that into your own thing, because what we have is a bunch of diluted personal brands out there that aren't potent, aren't standing out simply because we're trying to be something we're actually not. So those three things, trend chasing, using crutches, and, faking it till you make it, are three things that I would say to yourself. It's got to be something you walk through all the time and ask, is there in any way, shape, or form that I'm participating in these things? And if so, I can course correct at any time. Here's what a personal brand is. It's commitment. And so here I am 20 years standing, and I know that's very, very rare. When I look at the space, there's not many people who have this level of expertise. And there's also not a lot of people who have done this while raising babies. I say I've been raising babies in businesses for the last 20 years. I've done this pregnant, newborn, toddler on my leg, having temper tantrums, and now partially grown children. And so the commitment is, if you're building a brand, is that you're going to do it until. But when I talk to women who are founders, you have so many timelines attached to your legacy. If I don't make X amount by the end of this year, then I will. And so what that leads to is wavering belief. And what that leads to is you actually asking the world to prove to you, your business to prove to you that it's going to work, when actually that is all your responsibility. I was a slow burn. It took me 12 years to hit $1 million. And I look back at the 12 years where I was dying on the treadmill. I made great money, but I was dying on the treadmill to hit that 7-figure mark. And it was as soon as I relaxed and stopped being attached to the outcome and just showed up in the brilliance that I offer the world that happened, and it happened exponentially. But I think back and go, wow, what if I had quit year 8 or year 11 because I had been frustrated that it was taking so long? So what are you building here? Are you building something for a quick win to get that dopamine hit, or are you building something that is going to leave a dust in the room? That's something to pay attention to, because if you're not committed, you can't ask anybody to commit to you. Fair? The other thing is expression. This is my favorite thing and why I believe I've been put here to support women and women founders. I see you. That's my God-given gift. I can look at someone and really feel someone's essence. I can really feel someone's brilliance. I can feel just intuitively what you're capable of. And that's so wonderful to walk through the world with those eyes. I'm so grateful for this. But the thing that I notice is, as women, most of us grew up trying to fit in. What are they wearing? How's their hair? What are they listening to? Where are they going? Because that was really how we were taught. Does anybody kind of agree with that? Yes? I know for me, as much as I wanted to be different, I also wanted to be accepted and fit in. And so when it comes to personal branding, it's the very opposite. It's about standing out in the noise. It's about being noticed. It's about being different. And so that's an uncomfortable thing when you're building a personal brand, because it's not what we're accustomed to. It's about being a bit disruptive, not in your attitude, but in the way you show up so that people notice. So commitment is so, so important, and expression and being fully expressed is absolutely like the cherry on top. A personal brand is your platform, your stage to show the world what you're made of, because God didn't make any mistakes. There's no extras. It's not like he's like, oh, Jen, you're going to do great, build these great personal brands. But, Becky, sorry, Not so much, tame it down. It's just not like that. Every single one of us was created with so much love and so much care and so much capacity and so much contribution. And so we have to get out of our own way for that to be seen and felt. And the last thing I would say it is to make sure that you build an experience. A personal brand has got to be experiential. Look at this room. So you can see the detail. You can see the care. It makes a difference to the entire feeling of today. If you come and listen to Iconic Podcast, if you come and hang out in the Iconic world on Substack with me, if you come to Instagram, if you go to YouTube, if you subscribe to the Iconic Capsule, or you read my magazine, those are all doorways. So I look at this in my brand, like those are all entry points to a room. And so how I do one thing is how I do everything. If you think, I need to have email marketing, so I better do a newsletter, and you're slopping something out there and expecting people to take their very valuable time to spend reading your newsletter, is that even fair? What if you made the world's best email newsletter? Like, that's the type of lens I use in my business. The Iconic Capsule, it's viral. Why? Because I put so much time and energy into something that is completely complementary because it's a doorway into more. I value the people that are coming over and subscribing or following. I lost my social media in 2022. One of the worst things and best things. It was awful because all of my memories, all of my thought leadership, and really I wish you even today could go look at how the brand has evolved. It was gone and taken. But someone said the right thing at the right moment to me, and she was like, Jen, in some ways you have a clean slate. Like, nobody actually really knows who you are. So is there anything you haven't done you would love to do? And it was the magazine. I had gone to school for fashion, went to school for PR in hopes of starting a magazine, and I just ended up getting married and pregnant young and put that up on the shelf. And when I brought it back, I was met with so much negativity. People were saying, nobody's going to get it. Print is dead. This is going to confuse people with your brand. I was not met with, that's so amazing. You should do a magazine. I would read it. But see, sometimes we have to build the room before the people are in it. We have to be the leaders, the trendsetters, the ones that create the experience for people, because that's really where you start to differentiate yourself. So that's the context of what a personal brand isn't, what a personal brand is. But what I want to teach you now is how to create one for yourself that literally takes your breath away and that wakes you up every morning on purpose.
Over the last 20 years, I've noticed something. So many of you standing on the sidelines, curious about my world, curious about how I lead, create, mother, build, and live, but unsure of where to begin. And that's why I decided to open up and invite you into the Iconic world, my Substack home and the most accessible way to step into my energy. It is for a space for the woman who has been watching, the woman who knows she's meant for more, and the woman who is ready to finally say, yes, I'm coming in. Inside, I share what I do not share anywhere else: the essays, ideas, style, beauty, interiors, the behind the scenes of building both Iconic Magazine and becoming iconic, and the life that I pour myself into. This is where you rise to the occasion, where your creativity wakes up, where inspiration becomes action, where you begin co-creating your own iconic life and business, one intention at a time. And for those who choose to come in, you will also receive a physical copy of the magazine delivered to your door, early access to features, event invitations, and an intimate look into the evolution of everything that I am building. If you have ever wondered what it feels like to truly step into my world, the door is open. Join me inside the Iconic world. The link is in the show notes. And this is where your next chapter begins. This is where you get access to the mind and spirit and expression of an editor-in-chief, a woman, and a founder like nobody else on the internet.
So I did say how I do one thing is how I do everything, and I really mean it. I've been accused of being over the top, and I would rather be on the side of over the top than the other side of that equation any day of the week. Really, I'm good. So what does over the top mean? Over the top means that as soon as my eyes awaken in the morning, I care. I remember when I started business that I would sort of get up in the morning and kind of just walk to the kitchen, make my coffee, and just kind of be in the attitude of like, oh, I've got so much to do. And I remember feeling like that's not the right energy to start my days. I want to start differently. I want to wake up and sort of glide. I was also in my masculine. Does anybody kind of waver in their masculine energy? Yeah, I'm very good in my masculine energy, and I think successful women are, so it's a good thing. But we want to marry it with feminine as well. And feminine was very uncomfortable for me because I was that go-getter dying on the treadmill to hit $1 million. And so the idea of sitting back and being, just able to receive was so foreign. So what I did was buy myself a silk robe. I decided that I wanted to give myself practices and clues and cues to be the woman I desire to be, because that's actually how I'm going to show up for my brands, my clients, my customers, and community every single day. And it changed my life. I've been on more podcasts around silk robes than I think most have been on podcasts in general, because it really changed everything. It was the very first thing that touched my skin in the morning was this silk. And immediately I would soften. And I noticed how I would walk to the kitchen and I started gliding, almost tiptoeing. It was quite pretty. And the coffee changed. I wanted a pretty cup. And I started buying organic coffee. And I started sipping and savoring and lighting candles and like romancing myself. What I didn't expect, this was very much for me and really wanting to embody my full leadership, was that would be infused within my personal brand. Because that woman was who showed up for the rest of the day. So I challenge you to become the woman behind your brand that you aspire to see. Just giving you that as that example, when I think of my life and I think of my brand, and this is where it's pretty signature, I don't know if anybody's ever taught it this way before, I think of the 5 senses. 5 senses to me are those touch points where we can savor and linger and notice, enjoy, be full of pleasure and luxury and beauty. I don't know if there's an exception to the rule of someone who would want to have more of those things in their life and how they feel and what they would also like to ripple out into the world. So much so that I have an essence section in my magazine, because when I was doing my magazine, I wanted it to be an infusion of Forbes meets Vogue, where women founders could go read stories and learn business and leadership and overcomings. But I also knew that most of us start entrepreneurship because we also want to enjoy life, build a lifestyle, be the best version of ourselves. It is personal growth on steroids after all. And so the essence section for me was a reminder that I wanted to touch your eyes, your taste, your smell, what you heard. Like I wanted you to feel what life could be like for yourself. And when I was getting prepared to come here, I realized, oh my gosh, like that's actually what I do within my brand every single day. Like I'm actually looking at everything I do through these 5 senses. And so this is what I want to teach. I've never taught this before other than, my clients, but I haven't taught it in this way. And so I'm really excited for this because I do think this is something that you're going to remember and also something that will leave you different. So when we think of sight, the first sense, it's what we see, but not only what we see, what others see. And so your visual aesthetic matters. When people scroll, I hear it almost daily. They're like, oh my gosh, I know when it's a becoming iconic post. Why? Because I've built a visual identity. I've been consistent in it. I like dark and moody. You might like bright and flowery. It's not about, again, looking like anything that's trending. It's about expressing what turns you on. It's an art form, really. And if you're not great at doing graphics or the visuals of your brand, it's time you hired someone to support you in that. Because doing scrappy graphics and asking people to pay you for your service to me is such a contradiction. It's also pretty, dare I say, naive for us to believe that there's not investment in growing a business. We're spoiled rotten in the online space. I built a product-based business back in the day to 8 figures, and we had to invest. If any of you have a brick and mortar in this room, you know you had to invest. And so when we're in the online space, we kind of like go, I don't know. I just want to see if the business is going to grow first. Then I will, which is so counterintuitive. So you're asking people to invest in you before you're willing to invest in yourself. It's just something to pay attention to. So your visual aesthetic matters, and it matters deeply, but it's not the only thing. The other thing that I would really recommend around sight is that you get up and get dressed and show up as the woman you want to be seen as that day. I have a saying that I teach often with my private clients is around being Oprah ready. So I live my life to be Oprah ready, that if she shows up at my front door, I'm not going to be embarrassed that the house is a mess. I'm not going to be embarrassed that I'm in some sort of athleisure that looks like I haven't washed it in a week. I'm not going to have a messy top bun, although I couldn't. But I really want to show up in my day prepared to meet a fabulous woman. And maybe one day it'll be Oprah, but I want to be ready for that. So what you see when you look in the mirror is also what people see when they experience your brand. And don't be fooled. The whole thing of like, oh, you can wear pajama bottoms on the bottom and business on top. I am so confused by that too. Well, which one are you? Are you developing $1 million brand and beyond? Or are you sitting and watching Netflix, relaxing and nourishing yourself? Which one is it? Because you have to decide that. So when it comes to what people see, it starts with you, but you also have to make sure that your brand represents where you're going. When we do brands through the creative agency that I run, we're always saying to our clients, you have to know who you are first. Otherwise, you'll outgrow this really quickly. Becky and I have had some great conversations over the last, day-ish around how important that is, that you know who you are, that you know your differentiators, those unique pieces of you, that you have the what's-its. This tie, several of you came up and were like, I love your tie. I do love it too. Pamela Anderson just wore this in a photo shoot and I scoured the world for it, but I found it because when I saw her picture, I was like, oh, I like what's going on here. I am going to have this for myself because I want to feel that way too, but it creates conversation. So be that person. I saw a couple of you today that are very unique. You're expressing yourselves, and I just want to applaud you because that is what a personal brand is. So sight matters. Your visual aesthetic matters, and don't be fooled. Gone are the days of a Canva graphic too. So I know I'm kind of pushing you on the skinny branch today, but I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear to grow a brand that's going to be successful. And I would not be a good leader to you if I simply said it's okay, because I think we are all here hungry to see what's possible for ourselves. Do I have your permission for that today? I always give it with lots of love because I do love you all. I mean, I don't know you, but I love you and I want what's best for you. So I have to tell you honestly, I think you're hiding. And some of you, if I'm being honest, are hiding as well behind pretty graphics. I've done it. I have really pretty graphics. I have an art director full-time that works with me because I am not capable of taking what's in my mind and making it come to life. So I had to hire someone for that. But what can happen in my brand is because it's so pretty, I can not show up within it, not do my stories because everything looks so tidy and nice. But we got to keep it human too. So it's just this nice harmony. Second thing is smell. And not literally, because you're like, well, how can somebody smell my brand? Maybe you have a scent, or something that people could smell, or candles. But I'm talking not literally. I'm talking in the terms of the smelling when something's off. I always say to people, I'm like a drug-sniffing dog. I can tell you when you've got it, and I can tell you what you have to work on. I'm really good at that. But I also can smell when somebody's embellishing. I also can smell when somebody's being performative. I also can smell when ego is raging. And we live in an online space where money marketing has been used and abused, which has made a lot of people think that if you're not doing $1 million months, that nobody's going to choose you or that you're not good enough. And so what it does is it tempts us to exaggerate stretched truths. It tempts us to kind of show that maybe we're more successful than we are because we think that's what's going to attract clients to us, when actually the charm is in the journey. I love when my sisters are making delusional money. It's so incredible because it shows what's possible, but that's not required to be successful. And as a matter of fact, they were you once. What's charming is when you can say, here's where I'm going. I hire my mentors still based on where they're going, not where they've been. I'm not hiring mentors because they told me how much money they made and are flashing their Stripe accounts all over the internet. It's just not my style. That's not normalizing wealth for women. It's actually the polar opposite, in my opinion. It's not liberating women. If you think about it, we would be poised and peacefully confident in all of those things. People hire me not because I tell them how much money I made last month. People hire me because of how they feel when they're in my presence. So that's your permission and really, I would say, your integrity that starts to come forward as a key value within your personal brand. I remember hiring a mentor and she made me nervous. She was so articulate and poised and postured. And our very first call, I just remember thinking, I want to impress her. I could feel my heart beating and my breath was short. And within 5 minutes, she said to me, Jen, can we just pause? And I thought, oh no, it's like, I don't want her to see me. I just want to pick her brain. And she said to me, I can tell you're in a performative persona. That wasn't easy, but she was right. And I had never heard that term before either. Like I was going in my brain, like, what does this actually mean? But I knew what it meant. And she said to me, I'd like to actually pause our call and I'd like you to go do some work. And she fed me off to a few people that I did some work with. And I'd like you to come back when you can be fully yourself. It was one of the toughest, and I was embarrassed if I'm being honest, mentorship moments, but it changed my life. Like she literally changed my life because I thought to myself, I'd rather be seen flawed than to perform and someone think that it's not real. I actually don't mind my flaws as much because we all have them. And there's something really connecting when we allow people to see that we're on the journey because we all are. There's actually no destination. I remember the first time I hit $1 million, I kind of thought, well, now what? Like, what happens? Do we go to the beach? Like, because they told me I'm going to have time freedom and we're just going to go to the beach. And I woke up the next morning and it was exactly the same thing. Yes, more income and more access, but life was pretty much the same. So your integrity and how you show up and letting people know that you don't have to have all the answers, just enough to give them a transformation is what's going to create such a stand-apart brand right now. So let them smell authenticity, integrity, care. Let them not smell embellishment, exaggeration, and performance. Then I think of taste. And when I think of taste, I think of vision. Because I desire that if you're watching on the internet, listening to the podcast, or in one of my rooms, that I always have you taste what's possible, that I am always casting a bigger vision for you. I've been named many times as a visionary, and I would say that that reigns true for me. I have a huge vision, and also I really believe my responsibility is to cast a vision for you, because a lot of you are playing small. A lot of you think, if I just have this, or I'm just, the word just comes up often, I bet you, if you think about it in your conversations, where you're almost excusing yourself versus straightening your spine, showing what's possible, telling people where you're going. One of the greatest accountability partners you can have is declaring your goals, declaring what you're building. I remember telling people when I was growing my first business that I was going to hit 6 figures. And 6 figures 20 years ago is like how we talk about $1 million businesses now. It was not many women were making 6 figures on the side. And so when I was doing that, I remember my husband at the time, husband, going to know why in a second. But anyways, no, he's a great guy and we have 2 kids and we're great, but got married way too young. Anyways, he said to me, he goes, you have to stop telling people that you're doing this. He goes, because you don't even know this is going to happen. Well, you couldn't pour more kerosene on my fire than telling me I can't do something. Because I'll say, excuse me, pardon me, get out of my way and watch, because I'm going to give you a damn good show. And I wish that was your kerosene, that you stopped allowing those things to be water on your fire and dimming your light. Go do it. Like, I don't know what would be stopping you. We have everything at our fingertips. My first business, I had to schlep things around and meet people at coffee shops. Now I can open my phone and meet people all over the world. I have clients everywhere. The magazine goes to 53 countries. Like, this is what we're capable of, and we sit back and ponder on our vision. If it's not natural for you to say it for yourself, then pour life into others by sharing what's possible for them. That's a part of your personal brand, especially in the world we live in. It is absolutely a requirement that you show up and you show what's possible, not only for yourself, your family. If you've got kids, that is your biggest accountability in itself. They're watching you. I just want to say one thing about motherhood. I wasn't planning on this, but do we have lots of moms in the room? Okay. Have any of you used your kids as your excuse why it may not be a good time? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to mess your hair up a little bit. Oh, it makes me cry. Sorry. Because I wish you could see what their life is, like my kids' lives. I've taken nothing from them. They have not missed out on their mom. They have not sacrificed, nor have I. Instead, my kids have traveled the world, played elite competitive sports, have had their mom's presence in the home. Even if I'm working, I'm home. My presence is there. They have watched me cry, pick myself up, be hurt, be betrayed. They've watched their mom start over and over and over again. And I can tell you now, as a mom with grown kids, that they're the most tenacious, thoughtful, abundant human beings I've ever encountered. What I can say to you moms is I remember having this moment and it changing everything for me. I remember putting myself in the future because I was saying, well, when they're older, then I will, or when they don't need me so much, then I will. And if this sounds familiar, then I'm speaking to you. I remember kind of putting myself forward and thinking, when they're adults and they ask me, hey, mom, you know that becoming iconic thing you were doing? Like, whatever happened to that? I never wanted to look across the table to my grown kids and say, well, I just gave that up because you were so important to me and I didn't want to take time away. And I was worried about not being present. And, because of you, I didn't do the thing. How could I, with any sort of love for these kids, project that upon them as their responsibility? So I chose to show them what is possible. And I ask you as moms to do that not only for yourselves, because you're going to be such a better, greater, more expressed version of you that they get to experience, but also the life you provide for them will take not only your breath away, but theirs. They thank me almost every single day. They do. Like, it's really cool. I want you to do that for yourselves. Okay, so taste was our all-around vision, casting a vision for yourself and casting a vision for others. Then the next thing is sound. You have a massive responsibility when you use your voice. You are either a faucet or you are the drain. And if you're a drain, you need to hush for a minute to learn what needs to be adjusted so that you can turn on the tap and start being the faucet. Your words have little legs. And every time you speak to someone, whether face-to-face or virtually, you're affecting someone positively or negatively. If you're having not such a good day, my rule is I'm quieter that day. Why? Because that's my responsibility. My responsibility is not to even give a hint of negativity out into the world. It doesn't belong to you. So be the faucet, be a hope dealer, a life giver to others. Pay attention to your words. Be articulate. And if it's not natural, learn. I remember building a whole course, it's actually called Articulate, a whole course around this because I care so much for women to use their voices. That's why I developed a magazine to create a stage for women to be heard and seen and felt. But we've got to take the responsibility on of that. And also pay attention to what we're absorbing because what you're listening to affects how you speak out loud. There's an energy. I am assuming you can feel the energy of care and sincerity with me today, because that's certainly how I feel and what my intention is. But imagine if I was up here and negative in any way or had a bit of an edge to me. Is that fair to pour that into this room? Or instead, is my responsibility to give you choice and life and abundance and vision and care and ideas? So be the faucet. Remember, everything you say impacts somebody. And so you get to be the difference. If you actually paid attention to this more than anything else, your brand will grow. Why? Because most of us are sick and tired of what we see on the internet. And so how do you pierce that noise? It's not by being loud. It's not by getting a microphone and speaking louder than the next person. It's by being steady and grounded, poised, confident, caring, and loving. That's how you build a personal brand that lasts. That's how you build a reputation that people talk about. And lastly is touch. So I wish I could hug. I like hugging everybody that I meet. But touch to me, when I think of this in terms of personal branding, it's humanity. It's really caring for the people that are in your world, whether they're paid or not. When I lost my social media, I had forgotten, because I had a really big following, bigger than I have now. I had forgotten how important it was to care for the one. The biggest lesson I learned through losing my social media was bringing back the power of one. One person choosing to hit follow. That person saw something for themselves. They saw something in me. And that gratitude has never left my body since. We think that a big following equivalates to a big brand. But if you can't treat one person like absolute royalty within your brand, you have no business asking for 100. How are you going to do it? Because more is more. Nobody talks about this. I had to learn it the hard way. More success means more success, but it also means more responsibility. And so bring care, bring client experience, do the extras. My saying is surprise and delight. When people come into my world, they're like, you actually do it. And I say, yeah, I actually do it. I love to give more than what is expected in a world that expects to take more than what they give. Be the difference. Be the difference. So if you can start looking at your personal brand through that lens, those senses, and kind of using that as your guide, you will immediately see a result. And I'd actually love you to DM me, because you will. I promise. You'll immediately see a result. It may not be revenue generating, but it will be reputation building. Somebody will say to you, oh my gosh, like I really like what you said here. Oh, I felt different. Or, oh, thank you. I needed to hear that today. And that's what we do. We're hope dealers, life givers. I would love to answer questions if anybody has one around personal branding. Now's the time. I have my phone up here. I'll even look you up if you want me to.
Just a moment for Jen real quick, right? Thank you. Anyone like crying but also want to buy some stilettos at the exact same time? Just me? Cool. I'm in tennis shoes. The question was over here.
Hello. I got so much out of what I heard. Thank you for whatever you had to do to get where you're at so we can learn from you.
Oh.
I wanted to ask, when you talked to your mentor and your mentor told you to go do some things, can you tell me a little bit about that piece?
Yeah. I'm going to put a caveat. So I really love when women are unleashed. And there's a lot of things now that give us insights, but I don't like just putting us in another box. So it was actually human design was the first thing that she asked me to go do, is to learn about my human design. Although, again, I just don't buy into concepts as the be all and end all. I think these are clues and cues to learn about ourselves. So that was the biggest turning point for me. There was a lot of truths in being a manifesting generator. You probably picked that out if you know about human design of all the things that I do. So that was the first thing that I did that really helped me start to look inward and better understand myself.
I was going to say, if you don't tell us what one you are, we need to know. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a manifesting generator through and through.
Hello.
Hi,
I own like a beauty studio. I have a vending booth out there, so you probably saw me. But I feel like at this point, I'm really stable in my branding. But what's next from there where you feel like you're not converting people or you have all those things you wrote down about your branding and you have your I am and you know all those things? What's kind of next from there as business owners who are like, well, I have all of the things. How do I expand?
Oh, good question. Like, how do we stay turned on in our branding?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think branding is so fun because it gets to evolve with us. So it's not like you do a brand and it's one and done. There are core concepts, things that I do think need to stay and remain true, which is logo. You could probably change your fonts, although I think fonts should be one of those things that's like just a standard that you have that is recognizable. Colors, like when I'm doing different launches, I'll infuse some colors just to give life to that like micro brand. But I do photo shoots because it's become one of my favorite things to do as self-expression. You know, I've had long hair, I have short hair now, like I'm always changing. So I love doing personal brand shoots and then also just allowing what's turning me on and exciting me to be infused in the brand, but not changing the main thing. The main thing is tried and true. Have you ever done that? I think it's on YouTube. I've done it with my kids where they put the logo up and you try to guess what the brand is. That's what you want. You want that type of recognition and you want to maintain that, but you can have fun doing things that just help you express who you are. I do think refinement is an absolute necessity in a brand. You're refining constantly.
Amazing. Okay, we have time for one more.
Hi, loved your speech.
Thank you.
I'm a principal architect and I own and operate a medium to large architecture firm.
Cool.
And so I'm curious, I'm hoping to retire young. My question is nuanced. You might have to help me sort it out. But your personal brand is something that can be difficult to sell. So I've created my company over the last 20 years to have a very strong portfolio and it's very focused. It's got, a cheekiness to it. We're women owned. It's a male dominated space, all those pieces. But we're really focused on the business and the product as an identity because someday I don't want to own it anymore.
Right.
I want someone else to own it and pay me lots of money for it. So can you speak a little bit? I feel like you might have an interesting take or a nuance on, I certainly have a personal brand and that I also do public speaking and sell the work for the firm and things like that. But can you sort of speak about, a more nuanced strategy of like how you might build a business that you're selling and how your personal brand relates to that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does because I'm building both. So I understand your question completely. Your passion, your vision is the magnetism and attraction, but you do want to make sure you're building a brand that doesn't require your face so that it can sell. So that's very smart, intelligent business, by the way. So I applaud you because I do think that we need to be building brands where we have options in the future. Perhaps it's going to be just for your lifespan and it's a true personal brand. It lives with you and it passes with you. But I think a lot of us are looking at legacy now a little differently. So how can we build something that has that charisma, that passion, that difference of us, but that it doesn't rely on us so that we have choice to sell it one day? I'm really happy to hear you have a personal brand. That was actually going to be my answer is build something on this side that is an expression of you and infuse that gently into the company. Like if you think of Apple, Apple is a company, but we don't just look at the face of Apple. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the face is there, but it's not the company. You can do that too, where you can have a leadership position. You can talk about your mission, your purpose, the passion, the history, where it's going, but then not have it solely reliant on you to keep, like, you're not the main thing. But I do think it's a longer conversation too, because I'd want to know about your personal brand and what makes sense to pull over. So I'm sorry it's a high level answer, but I do applaud you for doing both because that would be the very first thing I would recommend.
Amazing. Thank you all so much
for
all your questions and engaging in that conversation. And can we please give it up for Jen?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and presence with us. I would love to nudge you now to respond to the generosity of this podcast by leaving a review and sharing this episode. Please tag the guest and myself as well so more people can be served. Our latest issue of the magazine is now out and linked below for you for your convenience. And if you're interested in this incredible PR and visibility opportunity, we've linked that below for you as well. Now, let's go make it a great day.